Hello students, we are going to begin another chapter in Science 2 for Standard 9th. The name of the chapter is Life Processes in Living Organisms. What is the meaning of life processes? There are many processes that take place in our body and these processes are necessary for our survival. So all those processes which take place inside our body and are necessary for our survival are called as life processes. So which are the life processes which are important for our survival? Some of the processes are nutrition, respiration, digestion, excretion, control and coordination, etc. So the study of life processes is valuable. Moreover, it helps us to know and understand our own body. Also, as long as the life processes are going on in our body, we are alive. So, it is very important to understand the processes that take place in our own body. This is a very lengthy chapter. We are going to cover two life processes in this chapter. One is excretion and the second one is control and coordination. The topics that we are going to cover in this chapter are meaning of transportation, transportation of water in plants by root pressure and transpiration pull, transportation of food and other substances in plants by translocation, meaning of excretion, excretion in plants and excretion in human beings, dialysis, meaning of coordination, coordination in plants, coordination in human beings. We will study the nervous system of human beings and we will also study chemical control and coordination. Children, we have already studied the digestive system in standard 8th and we know that the digestive system helps in the digestion of food. Once the food is digested, it is absorbed into the bloodstream and the blood carries this absorbed food to each and every cell of the human body. Also, oxygen is inhaled by the lungs during respiration and this oxygen is transported by the blood to each and every cell of the body. So now what happens in the cell? The absorbed food is carried by the blood and oxygen is carried by the blood to each and every cell. So in the cell, oxidation of glucose takes place to produce carbon dioxide, water and energy in the form of ATP. So here, transportation of food and transportation of oxygen takes place from one part of the body to another part of the body. So the process of digestion and then carrying the digested food as well as the process of carrying oxygen is an example of transportation. Okay, so we will be learning the definition of transportation, but before that we are going to cover some activity based questions which are given in your textbook. The first question is, why do we eat fruits and vegetables? We know that fruits and vegetables are very nutritious. They contain nutrients like carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals and fibers. These nutrients are very important for proper functioning of the body. Moreover, these fruits and vegetables which are high in nutrients help us to keep fit. Leafy vegetables contain an important mineral such as iron, and iron is essential for formation of hemoglobin in the blood. So why do we eat fruits and vegetables? Fruits and vegetables are rich sources of vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates and fibers. They help us to keep fit. Leafy vegetables contain minerals such as iron, which is essential for forming hemoglobin. What do you think? If animals require nutrients, do plants also require nutrients or minerals? Yes, plants also require nutrients or minerals for their healthy growth and development. So if plants require minerals or nutrients, from where do they get these nutrients? Plants absorb inorganic nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, magnesium, manganese, sodium, etc. from the soil, because the soil is the richest and the nearest source of all these elements. But what if the soil does not contain these inorganic nutrients? Then manures and fertilizers are added to the soil so that the plants get the essential nutrients. Children, we know that animals move from one place to another, and animals have more of living cells. Also, energy requirement of animals is more. But what about plants? Plants do not move from one place to another. They have many dead cells and their energy requirement is also less as compared to animals. As I have already mentioned, plants require inorganic substances or inorganic nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, magnesium, manganese, sodium, etc. for their growth and development. And plants get all these nutrients from the soil. Why? Because as I said again, the soil is the richest and the nearest source of these substances. We also know that the roots of the plants are directly in contact with the soil. So, roots absorb all these inorganic nutrients from the soil and then transport these nutrients to the different parts of the plant. But this is done with the help of some specific tissues, and these tissues are called as conducting tissues. The names of the conducting tissues which help in transportation of substances to the different parts of the plant are xylem and phloem. So what is xylem and what is phloem? We will be learning about xylem and phloem in one of the chapters of Science 2. So there you will learn about the different cells which are present in the xylem tissue and in the phloem tissue. But for now, we are only going to see the function of the xylem tissue and the phloem tissue. The xylem tissue carries water and minerals from the roots to the different parts of the plant, whereas the phloem tissue carries or transports food which is made in the leaves to the different parts of the plant. This is the xylem tissue, and this xylem tissue is present in all plants. The xylem tissue is present in the roots, stem as well as in the leaves. The xylem tissue is made up of different elements. They are the tracheids, the xylem vessels, the xylem fibers and the xylem parenchyma. If we consider the function of each of these elements, then they are the tracheid and the vessel. They are responsible for conduction of water to the different parts of the plants. The xylem fiber provides mechanical support to the plant, and the xylem parenchyma stores food for the plant. So as I said earlier, the blood transports absorbed food to each and every cell of the body. The blood transports oxygen to each and every cell of the body. So what has happened here? Here the blood is transporting a substance from one part of the body to the other part of the body. The absorbed food is transported from the small intestine to the different parts of the body. The oxygen which is taken up by the lungs is transported from the lungs to the different parts of the body. So a substance which is absorbed in one part of the body is transported to another part of the body during the process of transportation. Also, synthesis means formation of substances take place in the body. If I give you a simple example of synthesis, green plants prepare their own food, glucose, during the process of photosynthesis. And this glucose is transported to all the other parts of the body. So, the substance that is synthesized in one part of the body is transported to the other part of the body. So, transportation means the process of transportation of a substance which is either synthesized, that is produced, or absorbed in one part of the body to another part of the body. So once again, transportation means the process of transportation of a substance which is either synthesized or absorbed in one part of the body to another part of the body is called as transportation. In case of plants, transportation of water and minerals and food takes place. Transportation of water and minerals is done with the help of conducting tissue called as the xylem, whereas transportation of food in plants takes place with the help of a conducting tissue called as the phloem. When xylem carries water and minerals, then the water is transported from the roots to the upper parts of the plant. But when phloem conducts or transports food, the food is transported from the leaves to all the parts of the plants which cannot synthesize their own food. The mechanism of transportation of water and minerals in plants takes place by these two processes, which are called as root pressure and transpiration pull. Whereas the mechanism of transportation of food in plants takes place with the help of this process, which is called as translocation. So these are totally new terms: root pressure, transpiration pull, translocation. So let us study each of these terms one by one. We will begin with the mechanism of root pressure. Let us study root pressure with the help of an experiment. Take either a balsam plant or a tuberose plant, and this plant should have intact root. The roots of the plant should be washed clean with water. Place the plant in a beaker containing either eosin solution or safranin solution in water. So here in this image you can see eosin solution is added to water. The color of the solution is red, okay, because eosin is red in color. So the eosin solution when added to water becomes red in color. This plant, the root of the plant should be completely submerged in the eosin solution in water. Now you keep the setup aside for about 3 to 4 hours, and after 3 to 4 hours take the plant out, wash the roots of the plants under tap water and observe the plant carefully. You will find that the stems and the veins of the leaves appear reddish in color. So the stem appears reddish in color. The veins of the leaves also appear reddish in color. So what must have happened? Due to root pressure which was generated, the eosin solution must have been continuously pushed in the upward direction by the xylem vessels, and a water column must have been formed in the upward direction, making the stem reddish in color and the veins of the leaf reddish in color. If a transverse section, that is a cross section of stem is taken and observed under the microscope, it is found that the xylem vessels have altogether a different color. You will find that under the microscope the xylem vessels appear reddish in color. What does it indicate? That the eosin solution must have moved in the upward direction from the roots up to the stem, and therefore the xylem vessels have been stained red by the eosin solution. So children, let us study how transportation of water takes place by root pressure. The roots of the plants are in direct contact with the soil, and we know that roots have hair-like structures, and these hair-like structures are called as the root hairs, and these root hairs are made up of single layer of cell. So the root hairs actually are in direct contact with the soil, and the soil around contains water as well as minerals. So the root hairs first actively take up the ions from the soil. So now which are the ions which are present in the soil? So here I have shown soil which contains a lot of ions. So here these are the cations which are present in the soil. Positively charged ions are called as a cations. Calcium ions, hydrogen ions, potassium ions, okay, magnesium ions, aluminium ions. So these ions enter into the root hair from the soil. So there is a difference in the concentration or level of ions between the root and the soil. How come? Now the ions have moved from the soil into the root, okay, root hair. So now what has happened? Earlier the concentration of ions was high outside the soil and low inside the root hair. But when the ions actively entered the root hair or the cells of the root hair, then the concentration of ions in the root hair increased and the concentration of ions in the soil decreased. So because of the difference in the concentration of ions, water which is present in the soil moves from the soil into the root hair, that is the cells of the root hair. So once again, the concentration or the level of water is high outside the root in the soil, and the concentration of water or the level of water inside the root hair is low. So what has happened? Water moves from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration through a selectively permeable membrane, and we know that this is called as osmosis. So osmosis takes place. So first the ions gain an entry from the soil into the root hair, and this is followed by the movement of water or transportation of water from the soil into the root hair by the process of osmosis. So as soon as water enters the cells of the root hair, the cells of the root hair become turgid. The cells of the root hair become turgid means what happens? You can see that the cells swell up because they are filled with water now. Okay, earlier the cells were flaccid because there was not much water in the cell. But as soon as the root hair absorbs water, then the cells get filled with water and the cells swell, that is they become turgid. So water from the root hair enters the epidermis now. So this is the epidermal cell. Okay, so water gets filled up in the epidermal cell and the epidermal cell becomes turgid. And when the epidermal cell becomes turgid, it starts exerting a pressure on the neighboring cell. अभी ये सेल अगर पानी से भर जाएगा तो ऑटोमेटिकली ये सेल बाजू के सेल के ऊपर प्रेशर एक्सर्ट करना शुरू कर देगा, एंड दिस प्रेशर विच इज एक्सर्टेड बाय द सेल ऑन द नेबरिंग सेल्स is called as root pressure. Okay, now what will happen because of the cell getting filled with water? The concentration of water is high in this cell. So now water will pass from this region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. So suppose this cell is having less amount of water. Okay, so water will flow from this particular cell to the next cell. This cell will exert a pressure on the neighboring cell, maybe this cell, and water will be transported from this swollen cell to the neighboring cell. Now see what happens here. Because of the pressure which is exerted by one cell on another, water has moved from the soil into the root hair, from the root hair into the epidermal cells. From the epidermal cells, the water enters into the epidermis, the cortex. These are the cortical cells, the cortex. From the cortex, the water enters the endodermis. So these are the endodermal cells. So these endodermal cells also gets filled with water, and by osmosis they pass on the water to the next cell, layers of cells which are present in the pericycle. And from the pericycle, the water is transported into the xylem vessels. So, cell to cell osmosis is taking place here. As one turgid cell presses the next cell, the force of flow of water increases inward and water flows from the epidermal cells to the cortical cells, from the cortical cells to the endodermis, and from the endodermis to the pericycle, and from the pericycle to the xylem vessels. So, a continuous column of water is formed, and this column of water you can see is pushed in the upward direction. Thus, root pressure is one of the forces to raise water from the stem into the leaves. But this happens only in short plants like the herbs and the shrubs.